We're going to complete another small project in the chapter where we learned about object-oriented programming. So this project is called Build a Droid. We've set up a robot workshop to build some droids. All that's missing are the instructions on how to create the robots and what they'll do. Can we write a Java class to help? We'll need to define the state and behavior of the droids using instance fields and methods. Let's get to work. Let's. Okay, so we have some tasks here, and we need to mark the tasks as complete before, as we complete them. It says task number 1 goes like this. The droid Java file is empty, which is this one. Start by defining the class droid. Okay, let's do public class droid. Okay, we've defined our class. Don't forget to include a main method. You can leave it empty for now. We want a droid object that has the following state: name, battery level. So the state is given by the instance variables, okay, or instance fields, and the following behavior: performing a task, stating its battery level. The behavior, if you remember, is given by the methods, okay. So let's create also the main method. So public static void main, and inside here we're gonna say string args. All right, and it says to leave the body of the main method, we're gonna leave it empty for now, but we have to decline this. We have to define this class method with some instance variables and some methods, okay. And the instance variables are supposed to be name. So if we have a name, it has to be of type string, okay. And if we have the battery level, we should have the battery level, let's put it as int, as a whole number. So it's gonna have 100% or 50% or 53%, but no percentages, okay. So let's put it as int for now, the battery level. So battery level. Okay, if you have a look at the naming, how I've done it here, even though here it says battery level, so clearly there are two words, okay, describing this instance variable or describing the name of the instance variable. If you remember in one of the earlier lessons, we talked about best practices when naming variables. Well, it was something called camel case naming convention, which is exactly what I've done here. So the first letter, if the name of the variable is going to be more than one word, then the first word of that name has to start with a lowercase letter, and then all the subsequent words in that name of the variable are supposed to start with a capital letter, okay. So this is a good example of naming, okay. We have the variable called battery level, and the way we create it here, okay, the way we create this variable here is a good example of best practices, okay. Now we have to also declare some methods which are gonna be called, so this droid has to have the following behavior: performing a task. So let's say public void perform task, okay, and this is This is the method, okay, declared. We've made it void because so far we don't know anything about this, about the behavior of this method, okay. And then this other one is supposed to be stating the battery level, okay. Public void display battery level, okay. And we're gonna do it like so because, well, again, another example of camel case naming, okay. We've completed so far task number 1. Let's move on to task number 2. It says declare an instance variable called battery level. Oh well, we've done this already. We want to store a whole number values in this field. So we've declared it as an int, okay. Good. Declare another instance field called name, which will store our droid's name. What type should this be? Well, of course, we decided this is going to be of type string, okay, because it's gonna store the name of our droid. Okay, we've completed that as well. It says create a constructor method for the droid class. The method should have one parameter of type string, and then the name of that parameter should be droid name, okay. I'm gonna create another comment here which says constructor, and this constructor should be public, and it will have the name of our class droid, and it says it should take one parameter of type string called droid name. So I'm just gonna copy that and pass it here into our constructor, okay. Now task number 5 says inside the constructor assign the parameter value of droid name to the appropriate instance field. So we have the name, so that is the name, that it's an instance variable, okay, is the name that each object created from this class is going to have, okay. And we say make that value, make it be the value that we are going to pass to our constructor, okay. So we get name equals to droid name, okay. So the value that we're going to pass to our constructor whenever we're going to want to create a new object of this class is going to be passed to the name, okay. Okay, set the value of battery level to 100. So we say battery level equals to 100. So by default, whenever we're going to create a droid, okay, and we're going to pass it in this string here, so we're going to pass it some sort of an argument of type string, that value is going to be assigned to our name instance variable, and also the battery level should be 100, okay. Fine. This 100 here is completely, you know, it's up to us, or it's up to whoever creates the class, okay, to set this number. It could have been 1, it could have been 0, it could have been 1,000, okay. So we've created this one as well. We've completed that task. Now declaring instances of drone, okay. So instances of drone. We don't have a droid anymore, okay. Inside the main, create a new instance of droid named Cody. Okay, so we go nice and lovely to the main method, and we say create a new instance of droid. So the type needs to be droid, and so inside the main, create a new instance of droid named Cody. Okay, so droid let's call it my droid, and it's gonna be new. We're gonna use the new keyword, okay, and we're gonna call this constructor, okay. So we're gonna call the constructor, and of course we have to pass it a string, okay, and that string is going to be Cody, okay. And we've completed this, so task number 6. If we have a look at task number 7, it says print out the variable using system.out.println. We're gonna use this, okay, and we're gonna call the method system.out.println on our object, okay, and we're gonna access, using the dot notation, we're gonna access the value of its name, okay, name. Print out the value, save. Let's see what we get. We get Cody, of course. Why do we get Cody? Well, because this is what we have put our name, this is what we have set our name, the name of our new object to be, okay. So we've created here a new object, and when we called the constructor, we passed it in the value Cody. Now if we have a look at how we define the constructor, go to the constructor, and we say whatever you pass it to our constructor, so whatever value you pass to our constructor, make that value, so whatever you give it here, make it as the name, okay, of our object. So then if we take our object and we say, okay, show me what the value of your name is, okay, what are you storing in that variable, of course we're gonna get Cody, okay. Okay, so far so good. Moving on to the task number 8. It says that output isn't very informative. Well, is it not? Define. Okay, fine. Yeah, Cody, I guess it refers to the fact that it's a very simple, like very isolated name, and it doesn't really tell us anything. Fine, no problem. Now it says that output isn't very informative. Define a toString method within the droid. Okay, so within our class droid, it wants us to create a toString method. So it's going to be public string toString. Okay. And this this method should have the return type of string, which we've done here. Inside the toString method, so inside this, the body of it, should return a string that introduces the droid using their name. Okay, so we're gonna use system.out.println. Okay, and then here we're gonna use hello, I'm the droid so and so. Okay, plus, so we're gonna make use of the concatenation plus name. Okay, so if hopefully if I'm gonna run this, this is gonna be fine without any errors. So it says define a toString method within the droid. Yeah, so within our droid class, I've defined a toString method. This method should return a type string, so it returns a type string, and inside the toString, return a string. So inside the toString method, inside of this one, return a string that introduces the droid using their name. So something along the lines of hello, I'm the droid, which I've just done here, and then using their name. Okay, fine. If I'm gonna call this, okay, missing a return statement. Well, it's missing the return statement. Of course, I've done exactly, you know, a beginner's mistake. I need to give it a return, okay, here. Because we say, well, this toString method is going to return something. but somehow I forgot about typing in the return keyword. So if I'm gonna print this now, okay, we still have a problem here. Okay, so it says on line 24, incompatible types, void cannot be converted to string. Okay, so let's try and figure out what the problem is. Well, I think it should be without the system.out.println. So we should return just this string, okay? And is that a string? Yes, that is going to be a string. So I don't think it should be a problem, even though I'm not quite sure that this is the correct one. I would have expected now to get the hello, I'm the droid Cody, rather than just Cody here, okay? Okay, so the string to string, return hello, I'm the droid. Let's run this again. All right. Return a string that introduces the droid using their name. Okay, I think I found what the issue was. So if I'm gonna run this now, this was our code, okay? And I was thinking what might be the issue, because we're not getting, whenever I'm running this, we're not actually getting the right output here. Of course, we're not getting an error, but nevertheless, we're not getting whatever our task is instructing us to get. And I just realized that actually here in my on line 32, I am actually printing the name, so therefore that's why we are getting this. But now if we are to print the actual object, so rather than printing the name of the object, to print the object itself, so we're doing this by saying system.out.println my droid. If I'm gonna run this now we're gonna get whatever our task, so task number 8 was instructing us to do. Okay, so I'm gonna take this one off as well. In task number 9, it says define a new method, perform task. Okay, this method should have a single parameter. So I've already declared this method before. This method should have a single parameter. So it's gonna take a parameter string task. This method does not return any value, which is perfect because we've declared it as void. Moving on to task number 10, it says inside perform task, print a statement like name is performing task. Okay, so inside this perform task, we have to say system.out.println. So whenever we're calling this method, or whenever we are invoking this method, we want this to print a statement like name. So we're gonna say name plus some text, okay, which the text should be is performing task. Okay, we're gonna put a space after it, and then we're gonna concatenate it again with the task itself. Okay, task, so this should be this one. Okay, so the value of this one is gonna come from here, and the value of this one is going to come from whatever we pass it to this method, whatever value we pass to that method. Okay, so okay, for example, if we are to say, all right, okay, I see. So the name of our actual droid object was supposed to be Cody. Okay, and for example, now if we're gonna print this one as well, if we're gonna add it here to the to our main method, we should get exactly this. Cody is performing a task, dancing. So let's have a quick look. Why are we getting this output? I think the first one is fairly clear, because the first output, it comes from line 33 and it says print out our object. Okay, and whenever we want to print out our object, if we have a look at the Tostring method, which runs whenever we're using the system.out.println, okay, it says hello, I'm the droid, and then the name of the droid. And because here we declared that object with its name as being Cody, okay, and this comes from the constructor, okay, we've done it here on this line, then of course it's going to say hello, I'm the droid Cody, okay, and it comes from this Tostring method that we've just written, okay. And now the second line of output, Cody is performing task, dancing, comes from line number 34, okay. So we say our object here, and then we run this method perform task, and we pass to that method this value dancing, okay, of type string. Now if we have a look at how we defined this actual method perform task, let's go to perform task. It says whatever we pass it as a parameter or as an argument to this method, use it in such way so that we get the name of that object, and we add the text is performing task, and then we concatenate that with the task that we passed it as an argument or as a parameter to our perform task method. Okay, so we've just done this. Now we can tick the task number 10. And task number 11, it says performing tasks is hard work. After the print statement, set the battery level to be 10 less than it was before. Okay, we'll need to reassign the instance field to be the current value minus 10. So after the print statement, set the battery level. So this is inside the perform task. We're still there, okay? So once it performs a task, we want to set the battery level, set it to battery level minus 10, okay? So set it to be 10 less than it was before. You'll need to reassign the instance field to be the current value minus 10. So we said the current value of the battery is going to be the current value minus 10, and make this calculation here, and then add it, place it in this instance variable. Okay, we've just done this. Have your droid instance perform some tasks inside of main. Okay, so let's say Cody is dancing, Cody is cooking. Right. Gosh, if I can only spell today. And then Cody is playing. We're gonna do save. Okay, so of course we're gonna have all these tasks printed on the screen. And then the next step says create a new instance and play around with methods. Here are some ideas to get you started. Create an energy report that prints the instances battery level. Then create another instance and create a method energy transfer that exchanges battery level between instances. Okay, fine. We're gonna try this. To illustrate this, the changes that will happen whenever we have our droid to perform a task, what we can do is after performing any task, we can do system.out.println and to have it printing the battery level, okay? So the battery level should decrease after each line of code that says always performing such and such task, okay? So initially it starts, well, I guess if we do this one right here, okay, so to start with the initial battery level, the initial battery level would be 100, then it's performing a task and its new battery level is gonna be 90, and then it does another task and the battery level is gonna go back to lower to 80 and so on, okay? Okay, task number 13 says create new instances and play around with methods. Here are some ideas to get you started. So it says let's create a new instance of this class, and this one we're gonna call it D1, okay, as in Droid 1, and this one is gonna be the first droid, okay, and that's that. We're not gonna get any more any changes right now. We're not gonna get any changes in the output, okay? Let's say, so we've created a new object called D1. We're only gonna create one, I guess, for the purpose of I guess illustrating or doing something about this task anyways. Okay, so let's create a new method. So public, what is it? So public void energy report, okay, and this one prints the instances level, battery level, okay. So let's say system.out.println, okay, and inside is gonna say my battery level is, and we're gonna concatenate it with battery level, okay. So whenever we're gonna run this method on an object, we're gonna get the battery level of that object, okay. All right, let's say we have this droid, okay. Let's try and print something with this one. So let's print our droid, and this is the output that we are interested in. So hello, I'm the droid, first droid, okay, which is this one that we've just created. If we're gonna run the energy report method on this newly created object, so we're gonna call it on D1, let's see what we get. We are getting my battery level is 100. Why? Because we, on this object, we are saying call this method, and this method, if we look what it returns or what is the output of that method, we say it's void. We see it's void, so therefore it's not going to return anything, but instead it's going to print something on the screen. It's going to print my battery level is so and so. So it starts with 100, yeah? Fine. Let's have our droid, so D1, perform a task. So I'm gonna copy the name of this method. What should we say is doing? Let's say is learning coding, learning Java. Okay. If I'm gonna run this, it's gonna print as perform. So it's gonna print first Droid is performing task learning Java. And why is that? Because on this object D1 we're calling the method task, and if we look at we're calling the method perform task, and if we look at how this method was declared, it says this method, whenever it's run and is being given a value of type string, which we've done here, take that value and add it to this line here and print out the name of that object concatenated with this string, okay, with this text, and then to that add this value, okay, so the task value in our case, and also decrease the battery level. So now if we are to print the energy report, we should see my battery level is 100. Well, it's 90 because of course it's performed the task, and of course the battery level went down by 10. Okay. Create a method energy transfer. Okay, let's try and do this one as well. Public void. For now, let's keep it void because we're yet to understand clearly what this this method is supposed to be doing. So create a method energy transfer. Just gonna copy this. That exchanges battery level between instances. Okay, so let's say, okay, this is gonna be an interesting one, I guess. So we know that the battery level of our Cody object, okay, we know that its current battery level, it's 70, okay. In fact, if I'm going to replace this one, I'm going to replace the system.out.print, okay, I'm going to replace it with the energy report method that we just created, okay, and we're going to use it like this. This is going to be much more much smarter, I guess, or much more convenient. Okay, so let's recap a little bit. So we have here, we've created an object called Cody, okay, and initially each object, so whenever we create an object, the battery level is going to be 100, okay, so it says here the battery level is 100. Now whenever we have that object perform a task, the battery level is going to decrease by 10. So once we created the object, the battery level is going to be 100, okay. Whenever we print it here on line 42, we're going to get 100 initially, and then it's going to be 90, and then it's going to be 80, and then it's going to be 70. So the battery level of this object called Cody, after it performs all these tasks, is going to be 70, okay. So at this point on line 48, this is going to be 70, okay, the battery level. Now we create another object of the same class, and this object is going to be called D1, okay, and this object is going to start also with 100 as battery level, and then we have it perform one task which is going to decrease its battery level to 90, okay. So this one then is going to have battery level 90. Now this method, create a method energy transfer, that exchanges battery level between instances. I'm not 100% sure what this wants us to do, so I'm just going to try and give it a go. Okay, so I looked at it for about a minute and I'm just thinking how could we do this the best way. So I think what we need to take here is some sort of an argument. Well, not one, probably two, or yeah, probably two. Okay. So if we say, let's make it a bit clear what we have here. Okay. At this point we have this droid has a battery level of 70 and this other droid has a battery level of 90. Somehow in this method we have to exchange the battery level between instances. So to make this our D1 to get this this object's battery level and vice versa. Okay, so I guess we have to say we're gonna have an I guess an int A and an int B. Okay, so we're gonna say then for now let's do it like this. So we're gonna say system.out.println. So we have what do we have here? We have Cody dot name. So we want the name of that droid. Cody dot name has battery or battery level is this. Plus Cody, no, plus Cody energy report. Whoops. No, Cody battery level. Okay, level. Let's try and run this and see whether this works. Okay, so Cody, yeah, let's place a space here because you can see it's missing a space. So Cody battery level is 70. Fine, so far so good. So this is, let's say, before running the special method. Let's call this a special method. Okay, special method. Results before running special method. We're gonna run this again. Of course, I forgot to end it with a semicolon. So results before running the special method. Cody battery level is 70, and then if we copy this and we say we want to get the data for the other object, we say D1, okay, because that's the other object. So we have the results before running our special method, which we said this will be our special method that we're still trying to figure out what is going to, what code it needs to have inside. So at this point we know that Cody battery level is 70 and the first droid battery level is 90. Well, what this energy transfer method wants us to do is to swap around their battery level. Okay. So if, for example, so void Okay, let's get back to it. I've been thinking a little bit about this, and I'm still not quite sure how I'm gonna go about this, but the way I think I should be doing this is to store in a variable. We're gonna store the energy report of Cody, okay? So int Cody bat level, okay, and equals to Cody energy report. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here, which is we're gonna create a variable of type int that is called d1 battery level or bat level, and this is going to be equal to d1 dot energy level, no, energy report, okay? And we have to make use maybe somehow of these new variables that we've just created. So we're gonna say okay, I think in order to keep this simple, because this is getting a bit above my level of knowledge right now, I'm simply gonna delete this, okay? And I'm gonna try and create this method in such a way that it does not actually exchanges the battery level between instances, but only is gonna do it whenever we are it's only gonna display them differently, okay? So instead of Cody having 70, it's gonna have 90, and the other way around, okay? Okay, so I think I'm gonna say A and B, I'm gonna keep it like this. And whenever we're gonna run this method, we're gonna pass it in the, I guess these, no. Okay, so finally, after so much back and forth trying to figure this out, I've come up with a possible solution, but by no means I think is the only way to do things and things like that. So if you guys do know of a different and better solution, please do let me know. So this task 13 is supposed to, well, we're supposed to create an energy transfer method that exchanges battery level between instances. So at this point, if you remember, we have an instance called Cody, so an object, and an instance called D1. Cody is doing 3 tasks, which brings the battery level to 70, and D1 only does 1 task, which brings their battery level at 90. Okay, and somehow we need to come up with code in this method that will simply exchange it will swap the battery level that these two objects have, okay? So what I've done here, I've just printed results before running the special method, and I've called this one the special method because of the fact that we have to come up with all the code for it. So before the special method was run, Cody, which is this one, will have a battery level of 70, and this other one is going to have a battery level of 90. And then after running the special method, then Cody will have 90, which is what this one had initially. And then this one, first Droid, the battery level is going to be 70. And what I've done here, I've created a method. And we haven't seen this one so far, so this keyword static. But this method takes as a parameter, takes two parameters of type Droid, which we haven't seen so far, but we're going to cover it probably in the next few lessons. And the Droid objects, we have to assign them to some variables, and these variables of course are going to be of type int, and I've called them C and D. And for each object, so I've used the object itself and dot notation to access their battery level, and each of the properties, so the battery level of each object is going to be stored in a separate integer, okay? And then those on line 34 and 35, I've used those values to assign them to the new integer values that we got here in line 32 and 33. And by the way, this static keyword means that this method belongs to the class, meaning that we can use this method without actually creating an instance of this Droid class. And now if on line 66, if we run this method called energy transfer and we pass it in to objects of type Droid, so one would be Cody and the other one will be D1, we're going to get printed on the screen result after running the special method, which is simply going to do exactly what the instruction was telling us to do, which is to swap their battery levels. So if initially one had a battery level of 70 and the other one had a battery level of 90, now after running this method, we have the first one is going to have a battery level of 90 and the second one is going to have a battery level of 70. So by no means this is not, I don't think this is the ideal solution, but this is my solution for now. So that ends this lesson.